Okay, today has been pretty crazy for the crypto market. And I'd say the main thing causing all our coins to have some crazy fluctuations is because the inflation rate numbers came out. They were a little bit different than expected. And you know what happened to the crypto market? Take a look at just XRP, for example. The price went from like $3 for nearly instantly back to $2.94, right? Within like a few minutes is what happened right there. Ethereum kind of similarly, take a look at the 30-minute candles right here. Ethereum went from a nice 44.80, making itself a beautiful new local high, all the way back down to 35.55. Now, in reality, it's not that much of a move. It's only like 3%, but specifically in times like this where the market is doing almost nothing, that's a pretty big deal. Now, before I dive into the video, into what coins I'm looking for right now, which coins specifically I'm focusing on right now, I want y'all to press that like button. And I want to say that if you've been following my strategies, which is why I cover it every single day, even though I'm not a financial advisor, you will be laughing to the bank right now. Why? Well, if we start taking a look at my positions that I've set up throughout the last couple of days, here you can get a better overview. Things have been doing really, really well. And there's a couple of coins I've been focusing on more specifically that's have really done well from the volatility. And what I mean with that is, I told y'all a while back, right? I'm setting up these quote unquote volatility bots. Essentially what they do, if we, for example, take a look at my XRP bot that I set up yesterday, we put, let's quickly see it here, we put a couple $100,000 into this XRP bot, right? Here you can see we put 40,000 XRP in, and over a little while, it's generated me about 1,000 XRP in profits. Sure, it's down a little bit because I opened this at $3.40 or $3.50, something like that. But essentially, if I look back at the video I posted yesterday, it's up roughly 50 XRP or so in like, let's call it, 20 hours or so. 50 XRP, it's definitely not too bad, $150. Sure, it's a lot of money that I put in right now, but I basically had 5K XRP that are now upped. And the thing is, even if we take a look at the most recent one I posted, the SOL position, you see in one day, it's up 0.4 SOL. Now, you may not think that's a lot of money. I get it, but it's basically taken advantage of the volatility, and over a yearly basis, the 100 SOL, right now as it stands, if the volatility continues, and this is not talking about the price going up, even just sideways is fine, it'll be up 130% in Solana. But that's besides the fact that if Solana's price goes up, we also make money on trend P&L, which is why this is one of the best methods I've ever found, like I told y'all. And if you want to join in, you want to see more about it, you can see the first link, it's the link to sign up, right? But more importantly, you can also find somewhere down below a link to Discord, because in there, you can see a bot discussion. We're all discussing it right now. And I'll quickly say, right now, still for one more day, there's a nice little trading competition going on. You just make a new bot and you might get yourself upwards of $1,000, minimum $100 basically right here. And there's only like 40 people who entered. You still got a day, so try your luck. And if you take a look, there's only, out of the 40 people that have entered, only 4 have done bad. And I don't even know how, because the market has been so good. Getting back to it, right? Because I don't want to talk about bots all the video. The market has been really quite interesting. Now, for the first time in a while, we're actually starting to see a lot of green again, a lot of independent altcoin moves with MIX, with WorldCoin, and even though primarily I'd say that it's still investment-based or manipulation-based, I mean, this whole entire move here, people will call it like the crime season. From the back end, I keep saying that there's more and more money flowing in from the institutions and the bigger sector. Right? Let's call it the Web 2, let's call it the infinite money sector. It's just flowing in quite rapidly, and many seem to still want to deny it or not placing enough attention on it. I mean, one announcement that just came out, SEC Chair Paul Atkins says the SEC will ensure capital can be raised on-chain without endless legal scrutiny, and will allow for a super app trading platform, innovation in keynote speech. You can see, right? Whoa, little voice crack right there. It's starting to develop quite quickly, and this is something that's going to become exponential, and they're not really letting go. I mean, there's two sides to it. Also, as I've talked before about the DATs, the Avalanche Foundation, this one is in the middle, is reportedly planning a $1 billion raise to establish 2 US-based crypto treasury companies, each aiming to raise $500 million to purchase discounted AVAX. The reason I'm not fully bullish on this is I'd prefer if these treasury companies are buying it for their own sake. They think it's going to do really, really well, and they don't really get that much of a discount. But AVAX, I kind of feel as if the way they're going to sell it is with a significant discount locked for a few months or a few years, where I'm not so sure how positive that's going to be on the market. Again, some sort of discount is okay, but I have a feeling that AVAX is going to overdo it a little bit. But still, as it currently stands, basically buying any single coin that had these massive raises going on, Solana being one of the most hyped up ones right now, of course, besides Bitcoin and ETH, has worked out flawlessly. I mean, we can see Solana's price movement, which is again why I just added myself a 100 SOL bot. I'll be adding to this though. As you can see, I still have like 450 SOL here left to actually stack up. And it's just that I didn't get the time to fully lock myself in, but I will. I mean, throughout the past day or so, I've been buying so much. I also opened myself a new $375,000 XRP trade. Well, actually, I put 125,000 XRP in here to trade as more. It's not really doing too well just quite yet. I just opened it up last night. It's 60 XRP up or so, but opening it cost me a little bit of money. So it's not doing too amazing just quite yet. But fun fact, you know that theoretically speaking, I'd still be better off holding an XRP coin margin position rather than holding actual XRP. You know why? Because theoretically speaking, it's double up. If the market were to move, and this is the same for Solana, this is the same, but then more exponential for these type of bots. Essentially, I'm getting way more benefit putting the SOL in some sort of, revenue generating type of protocol, or some sort of bot like this that actually trades for me as well. Why? Because the yields are just so much higher. And there's a positive side, negative side. If the market goes up or sideways, in this case here, the bot grids out more Solana, or, besides the gridding out, it also goes up in price, right? So I'm basically winning double. The reason if the market goes down, why it's quite negative, which is the negative side, is because you're double down. First of all, you're losing that Solana as collateral, and also the price of that Solana goes down, right? So in this case here, the market goes down, you're really not loving yourself, but as long as you've either sold some, right, that you're, for example, gaining because of leverage, right now it's a true 2x, 2.13x. Essentially, I could have sold another 113 Solana or something like that, for example, that it's actually in leverage for. So I'm basically being able to take that out. And because I've sold it right now at this current price, if the market goes down, yes, I'm losing some Solana on collateral, but if we go back, for example, to this XRP trade, fun fact, if I had sold $375,000 worth of XRP, I would actually never get liquidated on this trade, even though it says I get liquidated on $1.40. I'm not sure if you guys can see that on your screen, but here we go. The reason I wouldn't is because, sure, this all flows down, but if I have all the money in my account, which I would still have, it slowly but surely would actually require less and less and less, where the 375 would always be able to cover this entire position because I sold it, right? Anyway, I'm not sure if that's easy for people to understand or not, but the point still stands that I seriously believe that if all these companies, for AVAX, for Solana, for ETH, and whatever, and actually, funnily enough, for also different protocols like Pump Fund, Hyperliquid, where there's massive buybacks already set in, if all we do is just make sure we keep stacking them up, it's really been the easiest cycle thus far. And I noticed a lot of hatred in my previous videos. And that's a fun thing, a funny concept coming back. I realize the majority of people watching this, I think, prefer if I explain my strategies head on. No filter, just explain exactly how much money I'm pushing towards things and why I'm doing that, how I'm doing that. But there's a vocal minority who sometimes like to say, oh, you're showing off. Oh, don't say that. Oh, you should never say this, that. And I've realized, first of all, I can do whatever I want, my channel. And second of all, it's even though I'm venting here a little bit, even though it's hard to ignore that minority sometimes because they're very vocal about it, I think at the end, it's better to just share whatever I think and sometimes also a little bit of how much money is inside there. Partially also because, I have it open somewhere, I'll quickly scroll through here. Partially because of this right here. 𝗏𝗏 said this, one day can change your whole life, but only if you don't quit, keep going, millions are waiting for you. To some extent, I also understand that people don't like somebody quote unquote showing off. But I always say here, if you really start breaking down what I've said on this channel, what I show in the videos, I'm not really the flexing type of person, right? Sometimes you see a little glimpse of it, but that's really not my goal at all. I could do it way harder. I really could, trust me. And even if I, for example, were to set up this whole setup in a studio, and like where I could have a car in the background or two cars in the background, I could, right? I could do a lot of cool things. I don't. The reason I'm sharing it with you is mostly because it gives you some context as to what my plans are. I think quite important. But second of all, because it should act, in my opinion, as some sort of motivation. I told y'all the story of how I started this whole entire thing. It's not that I started with money. It's not that I got some really crazy gifts. It's not that I got, well, I don't want to call it really lucky. Yes, I did win a little giveaway, right? I got myself a little bit of BTC that started my whole journey off. But for the most part, it's just consistent grind. And if I can still see my old wallet, for example, I can still see me grinding out 0.0000058 whatever Bitcoin, and then just slightly more than that. And the transactions fees probably were not worth it, but I was trying it out. I was grinding my way up piece by piece. Then I look back at when I start the cycle and really think, back then I would take advantage of an opportunity like this, for example. Bitcoin making a crazy wick, I'd be there in front of my screen taking advantage of this massive crash and buying into it hard. Now, would it work out every single time? No, but I learned a lot that season, right? And one thing I got from that is, for example, the bot trading. I've been doing that for many, many years, but differently. It was all like these separate bots. Nowadays, these platforms have become so easy, but I told y'all, throughout the last 10 years, the most profitable thing I've ever done is with bots. The only bad thing is, when the market turns around, if the bear market does come, you're basically losing quite hard for a while. Then again, once it turns back around, if you've got the stamina, if you've got the strength, you win double as hard as well. And right now, really, you don't have to focus on all these different sectors. I wanted to make a video here talking about robotics and how in crypto it could be a really interesting sector to watch out for shortly. I will just say, if we can even take things easier, right? We can even just focus on whatever has a logical reason to pump, fun fact, the name right there, and just really zoom in on it. Realize that the altcoin market for the most part is set up for crazy gains regardless. Why make it more difficult than it has to be? Sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate things. And some people might ask, Dusty, why do you advocate for leverage then? Why do you talk about leverage so much? The main reason I do that is because I said before, I'm not the biggest advocate of full portfolio margin. Meaning, you take, for example, if you had $1,000, you make it act as $100,000 because you're going to lose it quite quickly if you don't know what you're doing. What I often say is, if I had $1 million right now, I just have $1 million. There's, in my opinion, a lot of benefit to having, for example, the $1 million on a platform, mostly doing something, only taking a small portion of that and executing your trades with some sort of leverage. Meaning you don't have to fully use your entire portfolio to act as more. You can, which is also how you go from, for example, having $5,000 to $5 million in a season. If you're not willing to take some risks right there, it's just going to be exponentially harder, right? Because if you're working with 5,000, let's say you both start with 5K. One person is acting as if it's 20,000 straight at the bat with 4x leverage. Another person is just using 5K. Sure, right? You can both get towards $1 million eventually, but this person could do it 4 times as fast. Now, again, does he have some risk? Sure. But if you manage it properly, it's just faster, which is why I often say it's a wise thing. And it's what I do. You don't have to copy it. I told y'all before, every single thing I talk about on this channel, every single thing can always be done without leverage. But if we, for example, take a look at my 10K to $1 million challenge, right now we can actually compound it again a little bit. It would just be slower. That's it. Could it still work? Yeah. Logically, it would still work, but it'd be probably, half as fast, if not even worse. Now, again, that can be compensation points. For example, if you had a tighter range, I don't know why I still have it at 160 at the bottom, but if you had a tighter range, you could actually grid out more. And since it's not a true 5x leverage anyway, you can see the position, unless it gets closer towards a bound, like for example, the lower bound here, at that point, it would be more close towards 5x leverage, right? Because it keeps the majority of it in USDT. You can see it's only 40,000 XRP long, only 120,000, even the dollars. Even though it's got 42,000 times 5, so about 200,000, let's say, dollars worth that it could use. Still, regardless of that situation, the leverage almost always makes things go a bit faster, with the counter being that also there is the potential of getting wrecked. But I always say, the reason I always have trades open is partially because even though I'm paying funding, for example, and even though some may call it stupid that I didn't cash out at 400K, it's because this is sometimes easy to oversee, a little bit easier than holding your spot. And yes, it costs something, but I don't think the cost really offsets whatever it will bring me. And if you play your cards right, and you actually compound sometimes. Take a look at the recent buy we've done for XRP, right? For example, we bought in that $2.70 something range. You can see it's already up roughly 8% or so in the last week. 8-9% can be really, really juicy on spot, but the more money you have, the easier a 9 or 8% or 9% thing becomes to retire your entire family off of. That's the thing. I also notice when I look at the comments section, a lot of people are waiting for crazy high prices per coin. The more you utilize your capital on smaller moves, which again does not necessarily have to be leverage, the quicker you're done. A lot of people don't need a $50,000 XRP. Yes, you might want that if you are starting with $20 and you have no way to work yourself up. But that's where I sometimes advocate for taking more advantage of smaller opportunities. I would not have this permanent long major swing open if I had way less money, right? In this case here, the $1 million that we have in the long, I mean, if we just let it sit right here, I personally think it will turn into 3-4 million probably over the next few weeks or months. I personally think so. But as a conservative estimate, let's just say it turns into $1 million worth of profit over a few months. Well, it's $1 million. I don't have to complain about that. But if it was only a $10,000 long that we were opening, which is still to a lot of people a lot of money. I get that. I'm not unrealistic. If we still are having $1 million dreams, we need crazy high prices. But there comes the kicker, like I said before. We then have to, for example, play a little game of compounding or sometimes taking better advantage of a move. And again, trying to focus in on the, for example, scam wicks, like, for example, what we saw with Bitcoin here, right? We get the chance to cash out 114.5 and then try to buy back in 114, for example. So a $500 discount or more. And again, Bitcoin, all these coins it would work similarly with why? Because if you think about it, I personally think Bitcoin has a 99% chance of winning. I think Ethereum has a 99% chance of winning. I think XRP has it. It's just how volatile do you want it to be? The lower down the ranking you go, same with Solana, the more volatile it will be. But there's massive institutions buying billions of dollars worth of all these different coins. So essentially, I still keep thinking it's like, in my opinion, some of the risk-freest stuff. Nothing essentially is risk-free. It's all risky. But I'm saying, in my opinion, it's really, really quite low on the risk scale. And that's why I'm going so crazy at it right now. That's why I'm leveraging everything right now, because I feel as if the market going down has a pretty small chance. And if it does, I don't think it's going to be that far a move. Sure, it can be some shenanigans like today, right, with the economic data coming out. And sure, we can have some more shenanigans next week with the FOMC. Matter of fact, I do believe there's going to be some more shenanigans. There sure will. But that doesn't mean we can't take advantage of it. And if I don't want to do it manually, that's why I keep advocating for these things. The bots luckily do it for me, right? Because they're cashing out all the time. Whenever the market moves down, let me quickly show you here. Whenever the market moves down, they're buying. Whenever the market moves up, they're selling. You can see this, for example, trades about 80 times a day right now. Maybe XLM has it been volatile? See, not too much, only 25 transactions today. And that's where, again, the more volatile the coin is, usually the more transactions it also makes here. It's been 421 transactions in a day, right? So Solana here has been absolutely destroying it. And over a year, like I said before, it only cashed out 0.4 SOL. You might think that's nothing. Well, it's 140% over a year, not in dollars, but in SOL. And if we take a look at it, sure, we're up roughly 0.4% in SOL, but in dollars, we're slightly up more. And here, you can see trend P&L is 4.68, 4.67 instead of 3.14. Why? Because we're both up in SOL, and the SOL is worth more. And that's why I'm loving this strategy right now, and I'm focusing on it a lot more. But yeah, that was it for right now. If you want more information on the bots, check out Discord. If you want more information on whatever's going on in crypto, just keep staying around. A couple cool videos are coming out today, partially maybe about my strategy. Not so sure what else is going to be coming up. But yeah, if you're wondering about the WEX positions, let me quickly open it up. I've not checked today. Not so sure how those are doing. I had some orders placed, but I don't think any of them got filled. It doesn't seem that way because we still only have $41,000 worth of ETH we bought and only 20,000 or 21,000 worth of XRP we bought. So unfortunately, the ETH orders did not get filled. I think the price that we wanted was 42.25, and we unfortunately got a bit unlucky previously. You can see right here, right? You can see where I wanted to buy ETH at and where it actually hit. So unlucky. Otherwise, we would have had another 4 ETH or so, which could be nice. Could be nice little to add to the stash. Then again, this has been under loss the whole time, this whole position, ever since I opened it live on a video as well. But you can see slowly but surely it's actually making itself into profit. The funny thing is though, when I look at this, I always think back thinking, if only I just opened this in a bot form, it'd actually make me more because of the constant buying and selling. But sometimes it's nice to diversify, and on WEX there's a free 10K position, which is linked down below. Just check it out if you want to. But you know what? That's about it for the news right now. Crazy volatility, people getting wrecked, but ultimately I think it's good, and it showcases to you the potential of any type of market, and the volatility probably is going to happen over the next week or so. But yeah, pay attention. That's about it for right now, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto video somewhere later today.